Welcome back to the Critical Moves podcast. I'm Al, and today I'm joined by the legend that is Joseph in the United States.
Hey everybody.
How you doing, gorgeous? Are you well?
Yeah, doing great. This is I've been off for another little bit, and I'm excited to be back talking about a topic I like.
How do you know what the topic is? You haven't been told that yet, but it's always good to see you. We're also joined by my neighbor, Sid. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm not too bad at all. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah. Good, considering how late it is. Today, we're going to be talking about Space 4X, or maybe space strategy games, depends how the conversation goes. This is something which Sid wanted to bring up. He wanted to talk about when he joined the podcast. It was one of the first things he suggested, and we all said, no, that sounds like a crap idea. But we ran out of ideas. So here we are. Sid's going to talk to us about Space 4X. And I think you run a subreddit, is that right, on Space 4X?
Yes, I do. I mean, it's called, funnily enough, Space 4X. I get a lot of messages saying, oh, this game you've shared isn't 4X. And I say to them, look, it's called Space 4X, but, I'm open to other, types of space strategy games.
So you mean you're like the slut of subreddits? You just accept anything?
Accept any old thing, yeah.
Anything. My ex.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason we're here is because Sid wants to talk to us about this particular genre or subgenre or subgenre of strategy games. I mean, how deep does the rabbit hole go? Over to you, mate. What's the crack?
Well, you should soon find out. Yeah, so what are the origins of, 4X? Before 4X existed. I want to take you back to the 70s, really. In the board game roots, the DNA of Space 4X games, from board games like Stellar Conquest came out in 1974, Star Force, which sort of came out. 1974 was kind of like a fascinating year for these types of games. You've had, loads of similar types of things pop up in that same year. Star Force, Alpha Centauri, which I actually remember. My dad had a box in the attic, and I remember going up one night when I was younger, and I was fascinated to see what was there. But I was too young to kind of fathom what it was about.
It was in 1974 as well, wasn't it? When you went up into the attic.
Oh yeah,
because you are that old.
Oh, I am that old. No, this was many years later. It was all covered in spider webs and cobwebs.
You're one to talk. That's the year you went to prom, isn't it?
I think that's the year he got his driver's license. I think
It is. Please proceed. I'm sorry.
These games already had the sort of exploration of unknown space, colony building, tech advancements, fleet combat, but it was all kind of on a piece of cardboard, and you had pieces you were playing with, and you had to use your mind, your imagination, I suppose. They were very slow, very complex, and it wasn't something you could play over, an evening. You had to have a dedicated group of friends that would meet up, maybe over 2 or 3 days to play them. And that all changed 9 years later, in 1983, and a game called Reach for the Stars came out. And I believe is that your birth year, is it, Joe? Are you representing that year?
I remember Reach for the Stars.
You do?
Yeah. Reach for the stars.
I think we've lost a lot of listeners by this point, I think.
I'm sorry. Okay. Look, the wine is flowing.
Yeah.
I'm going to be silly. All right. You want to talk about something really, really serious, and I'm feeling very, very stupid. So
No, go ahead. Go ahead. We've got all night. But yeah, so this is widely considered, the first true sort of Space 4X game. It had randomized galaxy maps, colony development, research, shipbuilding, diplomacy, warfare, you name it. It had, everything. that you could think of, and it was brutally difficult. It was minimalist in design, but it was heavily inspired by Stellar Conquest, which came out 9 years prior. But it kind of established itself as one of the grandfathers of old strategy games, and later in the formation of the genre, which obviously we'll go into at some point in later in the podcast. But we then saw the rise of many more titles in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Space Ward Ho, which came out in 1990, and that also followed the design with text research, ship design. It was lighter than previous titles like Reach for the Stars, but it was still kind of helped popularize the formula. And then it all began obviously with the Golden Age, which was the amazing, the beautiful Master of Orion.
Well, before you get onto the Golden Age, I want to ask a question about this Reach for the Stars, because you say this was the first. Was it the first 4X game or the first space 4X game? I mean, it came out before Civ, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the term 4X actually started in 93, by a game writer, a games journalist called Alan Emrich. And he coined the term 4X when he was doing a preview of Master of Orion, back in 93 for a magazine called Computer Gaming World, which I don't know if you guys remember that.
I remember that. So these earlier games like Reach for the Stars, what were they classed as? Because they weren't, of course, 4X didn't exist as a recognized genre at that particular time. So what were they classed as?
As we saw before, I mean, they clearly fit the patterns, but obviously the industry didn't yet think of them as a distinct category. They were kind of simply seen as complex strategy or empire management games, like you had with Civilization in 91, and of course Reach for the Stars in 93. But there wasn't really a term for it until 1993, which, when Master of Orion came out. So in terms of the 4X structure, you had the 4Xs, obviously we all know and love, the explore, expand, exploit, exterminate, that everyone now knows. But it's all thanks to Emrich, who introduced and summarized the core gameplay as these 4 pillars of the genre.
But he was involved in the development of Masters of Orion as well, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was kind of loosely involved in the development of the game. Although I'm not quite sure how far deep in development he was, but in some form he sort of suggested many things that were later made in the game. Obviously, as later on we see the sequel, Master of Orion 2, which came out in 96. But Master of Orion really sort of helped define the modern 4X genre. It had a clear 4X structure that we previously talked about. It had distinct sort of alien races with personalities. It had a text tree. I mean, we take all these things for granted nowadays, but back then it was, really new. Exclusive choices with the text tree, so you could choose where you would, develop these technologies and in the text tree. Diplomacy mattered, ship design, and obviously the strategic depth, without kind of overwhelming the player with complexity. What followed after, a few years later, Master of Orion 2, this was the most influential title for, I think, most people who know the genre. And it became the gold standard. It had deep colony management, tactical turn-based ship combat, race customization, heroes and leaders. The pacing of the game was just amazing. It just sort of kept you kind of intrigued, and you kept on playing. Just time flew by, when you played this game. But have you guys checked out these 2 titles?
I was more of a regular 4X player to start. I played a lot of Civ 2 and I played some Alpha Centauri, but I don't know if I remember playing the Master of Orion 2. I know I didn't play the original or any of the ones that came out before I was born. I think my first major 4X space game might have been Stellaris, unfortunately.
You've said it now, man.
You've said
I
it.
know.
You've said
You've
it.
said it
I
now.
didn't mean to. I was trying to. I know.
I was thinking whilst Sid was talking about these games, what a great what a great drinking game it would be if every time in a Space 4X episode someone says Stellaris, you have to take a sip. That would just be such
Yeah,
a
that would
such
have.
a great drinking game. But no, I never played Masters of Orion. I was aware of it, but and it's kind of weird to me because I love strategy games. Hence why I started a podcast about strategy gaming, and I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. So you would think that space and strategy would just be the perfect combination for me. But the same as Joe, that it never really resonated. I played Civ 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way
Yeah,
through,
same.
and lots of RTS games and medieval
Total
Total
War
War,
games.
the original one.
Yes.
But I was never drawn to the space side of things. I mean, I remember playing Pax Imperia Eminent Domain, but I can't. It was such a long time ago. I can't really remember much about it. But I remember owning that and thinking it was just fantastic. But the whole genre just passed me by. I'm very terrestrial when it comes to my games.
Galactic Civilizations games, I think.
Yes. Yes.
I think I
And
played one of them before Stellaris.
But what is it about Masters of Orion that made it stand out? Because it sounds like, as you said, there have been more games than just Masters of Orion that were released around that particular time in this
Yeah.
genre. And what was it about that one game which made it stand out amongst all the others?
Yeah, it's interesting because nearly every turn-based kind of Space 4X game since then has always been compared to Master of Orion 2. And I think it was the sort of deep colony management at the time. Obviously, in 1996, I think things like Star Trek and all these things were quite popular, and you had the tactical turn-based ship combat, which was quite interesting because before that it was, you didn't really have any control, on those aspects of the games prior to that, especially the race customization, so you could kind of make it your own, if you will. The fact that it had heroes and leaders, and the fact that the pacing of the game, it's just hard to describe, really. And the fact that obviously, as I say, like all the games after that, it just set a ground, a level ground for all the comparisons made since then. I mean, the expansion era, which I'll talk about, the late 90s and 2000s, you had the Space Empire series, which I think at the moment there's 4 or 5, I think, or even 6 of them, if I remember correctly, which had massive tech trees, and it had kind of the ability to mod huge ship customizations. And as after Master of Orion 2, which Joe mentioned earlier, was Galactic Civilizations. The key features for that, it became popular because it had a really strong AI, it had a clean 4X design. There was sort of diplomacy mattered quite a lot, and it really sort of helped revive the genre during quite a quiet period in that sense, where nothing like that really came out.
One thing I was going to ask Sid is, why is there this dry period, this dry spell between Masters of Orion and that series and those games in what the early mid 90s, and then your Gal Civ in towards the late 90s? Why was there a drop off? Was it filled by other different types of games, or did it just fall out of vogue?
I think purely because there was a big rise in RTS games. There
I
was a
suppose
big
so.
rise.
Yeah.
I think people just were disinterested in big epic, colony management and, all this sort of galactic kind of, management, in that level. So I think, once obviously Command and Conquer came into the scene and things like that, then I think people moved into that.
Do you think that it's sort of swung back now, where we have a little more innovation in 4X and a little less innovation in RTS? Like, it feels like RTS is going back to, let's see if we can remake Red Alert 2. Let's make, or not Red Alert 2, but you know what I mean? Let's try to go back to the basics and remake some of those classics. Whereas in 4X, we're seeing people really try to push the envelope, right? I know we've already said Stellaris once, but Stellaris has really pushed a story envelope, and we'll probably talk about them much more. But they've done something that other 4X games haven't done, really. And I feel like RTS is, flipped. Those positions have flipped. Am I wrong, Sid? Do you think?
No, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting point, because I think that we are now at a point where the road has split in two. It's gone two different directions. Those people who play RTS still, but play it competitively, play it, online now with other players, and they just want something quick to play. And then there's also people who love these deep sort of strategy, 4X, type titles where it's, lots of things to, think about and manage. And most of them now are kind of almost, living simulations now within the engines of the game. So I think a lot of people now, they've kind of split in two, some of them have moved on to those sort of areas.
I mean, some games sell themselves on that, right? Like a Distant Worlds, they'll talk about how play as much of it as you want. The rest, we'll take it. We'll simulate everything else if you want us to.
That's interesting, mentioning Distant Worlds, actually, because the fact that you could automate, pretty much anything, any aspect of the game you wanted to. You could even role play as, Star Trek Voyager if you wanted to. Just explore and let the computer deal with, everything else in the game.
It's interesting you mentioned Star Trek Voyager there, because I just want to come back to something here, because I had a thought and I didn't vocalize it at the time. We said about why were they popular. We said, because it was, around the time of Star Trek and all this kind of stuff. I can't ever remember seeing like a licensed Star Trek 4X. I know there was one recently, and I say, well, semi-recently, which is basically a Stellaris mod. But back then, when you had Next Generation, you had Deep Space Nine, you had Voyager, you had 3 really popular Star Trek TV shows and all the movies which are coming out all the time. Has there ever been like a licensed Star Trek 4X?
Not that I recall. I mean, there's probably people shouting at whatever they're listening to. They're probably shouting at this podcast now, going, there has been, tactical games and tactics-based strategy games, but
don't you think it was too expensive to get that license? Because I feel like 4X has never been a genre that had a glut of funding, right? It's never one where you've really blown a game out. Except for a few choice ones. So maybe they just never quite had it. Never quite had the funds to get that Star Trek license. That would be my guess. But it would have been cool.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. You've hit the nail on the head there, because I think, IPs like Star Trek, like Star Wars, they wouldn't go down the 4X route simply because it was just not, maybe, monetary wise, it wasn't, worth it for them to make something like that had such a cult following. I think at the time, RTS was very popular. So if you remember things like, the Star Wars RTS game, which I can't remember right now.
Empire at War.
Yes. And I think there was another one which the It was kind of similar to Age of Empires. I think those sort of IPs, they kind of went after the most popular genre at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that Star Trek and Star Wars would make excellent settings for 4X games. And I can understand to agree why they don't, because you already have an established lore, and the purpose of a 4X is that you first explore. They're probably better as grand strategy games than they are as 4X games, where you don't actually know where anything is. But I think they would be just perfect titles for the 4X treatment.
Yeah, I was thinking a similar thing. You could start with some sort of Star Trek colony ship or something like that. You're going to the new whatever galaxy, and your ship goes out there and explores, and maybe you could have some sort of on planet situation where you have a little team, something really low key. That could be fun, right? And you find what you find on the planet and colonize it in some way. I don't know how you would colonize it, but something like that. That would be, you could make something there. There's something there. I like what I'm picking up what you're throwing down, Al.
Cheers, man. Thank you. I'm glad you are,
Mhm.
because Sid doesn't give a shit, but I'm pleased that you do.
No, but I think is purely business. I think it was purely for them business reasons. The IP shareholders, the stakeholders, the owners of the IP. I think for them, first person shooters, RTS games, things like that would sell more. So maybe I'm thinking maybe that's why there hasn't really been anything substantial in the 4X world for those particular IPs. But hopefully now, with the rise of the genre now and the modern times, I think there will be opportunities to deep into those, and I hope there will be points in time in the next couple of years where we do get some really nice deep stuff.
When do you think the modern age of 4X actually started, Sid? What game is the first modern one?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So it all started, well, I call this the modernization wave in 2010 with Distant Worlds, as we mentioned, a massive simulation, real-time pause, automation, living galaxy, deep logistics. We also had Star Ruler, which was very experimental at the time. It was a kind of a systems-driven 4X, but it also had scalable ships, influence-based diplomacy, and it also had...
Real quick, give us a score on scale of 1 to 10 for each of these games.
Well, Distant Worlds, to me, an easy 9 for sure.
Okay, Star Ruler.
Star Ruler, I'd say 8 for sure. And then in 2012, Endless Space, which again, a 9 for me for sure. Gorgeous, UI asymmetric
Yeah, an
factions.
easy grader.
I think Sid's easily pleased, isn't he? He's like,
Yeah. He's like, the game had all these problems, but it was in space, so 8.5.
Spaceman. It's like Spaceman, But yeah, I'd say that's the modernization era. But the true 4X era, the game that we have named already, but we shall name again, Stellaris.
I had this notion that I would get through this entire episode without of 4X space 4X games without mentioning Stellaris. I was like, I can do this. I can do this, because I'll just let Joe pick up the slack instead. But it was going to happen. And my question to you is, because I've played 1 or 2 hours of Stellaris, what possible reason is there for me to go and play Galciv 3 if I play Stellaris, or Distant Worlds if I play Stellaris? What possible reason is there? What's the difference in the experience? And I know you can say, well, you play Red Alert. Why would you play Total Annihilation, for example? But the systems are different. They are very different games, even though they're both RTS games. I just can't look at, and I have looked at Galactic Civilizations as a potential game for me to try, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I can't see how it is different enough from Stellaris to make it worthwhile?
The only obvious difference is one is turn-based, right? So one is turn-based, the other one's real-time with pause. It depends, I suppose, what sort of a person you are. Do you like, role-playing? Stellaris for me is a perfect kind of role-play game.
It is, yeah. And I think that's why I enjoy it so much.
Do you role-play? Do you prefer role-play, or do you prefer...
We're still talking 4X, so we're talking about in the bedroom now. I mean, I'm sure.
Well, what time is it?
I could feel it coming. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. But yeah, it just depends of what you prefer. I mean, obviously the lore, Stellaris is less fixed about the lore. It's more about procedural storytelling, which you guys have talked about before in previous podcasts, where...
Yeah, it's emergent storytelling, isn't it?
Emergent storytelling, yes. So the universe is filled with these, civilizations and fallen empires and emergent narratives. On the other hand, galactic civilizations, it has a fixed lore.
So one thing I was thinking about when we was preparing to do this episode, and I appreciate I've been drafted last minute, so my prep has been 5 minutes. When you play Stellaris, and I love the game, but typically you're looking at a star field with a few points and some lines and the occasional planet and maybe some ships. And then if you look at galactic civilizations, it's a star field with some lines and some ships and some planets. And then if you look at the new titles like Stellaris and Astro Protocol, it's a star field. Can you see where I'm going with this? And
Yes,
it's like,
yeah.
And I don't know whether the lack of popularity of this particular branch of 4X, because you look at Civilization's million sellers, this is a 4X game which is extremely popular. It's extremely mainstream. The lack of popularity for 4X space games is because they all look very much the same. And it is a case of, well, when you've seen one, you've seen them all. Even though, as you said, one's turn-based, one's real-time, there are differences in there. But to the interested person who's coming at this, this looks like it might be up my alley. At first glance, there's no difference between Stellaris and Galactic Civilizations.
You're absolutely right. People really have to dig into these games to figure out why they should even try them. Like, what's different? All those games you mentioned, Al, what is different about those from Masters of Orion 2 or remnants of the precursors, the remake of Masters of Orion 2? Like, besides better graphics, slightly shinier stars, what's the difference?
I've got hundreds and hundreds of different types of, space-based games. Even though that they do look very similar, you really have to kind of take that risk in purchasing that game, take that risk in buying that game and playing that game, and the beauty of it for me is trying it for yourself, to see if it's a thing for you or not.
You're a very analytical person, and I know from our conversations both on the podcast and off the podcast that you're very interested in the mechanics and the systems that drive these titles. That's great, and we all have different things that we are drawn to when it comes to gaming. Whether it's strategy games or other types of games. Some people like FPS because they want to just kill people or they want to blow shit up or whatever. I like strategy games because I like the thinking part of working out the puzzle and how things are and why things work. But you take it to the next level in terms of some of the games that you've shown me. I'm just like, they're so complex that it's making my brain fart just thinking about it. For the consumer, for the average person, we're drawn to shiny objects and this black background with points of light on it, of which there's a multitude of variations. It isn't compelling. And that's why they're not as popular, Stellaris aside, because we know that is.
I think these games now, they do cater for that minority of people who've tried and tested these games before. Obviously, if someone completely new, I wouldn't I wouldn't show them games like Starfleet or anything like that, because again, games like Starfleet, massive complex games, you had Aurora 4X, which is completely mind-boggling to a new player, which I think I've shown you before, Al.
You did, and I was like, that was not something which would even remotely interest me, because I was like, I started Terra Invicta and I was like, this is too complicated for me. So something which is
Exactly.
essentially
You baby.
oh,
Yeah.
shut up, man. Something which is like a UI on top of a spreadsheet is just not something which
Yeah.
maybe I'm just a simple man, but I'm not drawn to that as an experience that I want to enjoy.
And where do you draw that line? Do you play the game because it's fun, or do you play the game because, as you say before, you're a masochist, or
Well, I'm
you?
no. You're the masochist, not me. All right, let's just be clear here. I didn't say I was. I said that
Yeah.
you were, because of some of the shit that I've
Um,
seen you show me that you've been playing. It's like, why would you do that to yourself? And you even said it's frustrating playing it, but you enjoy that. And I'm like, that is masochism. It it is.
I like to hurt,
Yeah, well, there you
But
go.
I mean, that's just me. But I mean, obviously, I would never recommend those sort of games to a person starting out. I think if I were to get someone to play, maybe, or get into a 4X, I wouldn't even show them Stellaris. I'd probably show them like an RTS 4X hybrid, something like, Sins of a Solar Empire, things like that, which is more manageable to someone who wants to get into that. And then maybe show them Stellaris to expand on a galactic level.
I'm not trying to derail us too much, but I can't even find Aurora 4X. If the website's down or pulled down or something, it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, the time of recording now, the website has been down for a fair few days. I mean, the last time I've checked on Reddit, they have a subreddit on there, and apparently it's coming back online soon. But you can still get it from other means. But I think the only place we could get it from so far was the forum. But it's been in development for years, and you found it?
Yeah, I found it. I'm not going to download it though. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice game.
I'm still trying to finish my Terra Invicta game, so I can't get
Yeah.
into something like that.
I mean, that's amateurish compared to
Watch him. Watch it.
But going back to why we play these games, or why these games can be interesting or made different, is, I think, you've touched on before in previous podcasts, is a solid story, a campaign, something that you can play through, something that has great characters, great atmosphere. You want to get attached to these characters, and unfortunately most 4X games don't have these, but we are kind of seeing that kind of come to fruition, especially with, like, Stellaris, where you do make your own journey and stories. But there are lots of cool new sort of games coming out in the future that promise to have those sort of features, with deep storylines and the RPG mechanics built in with the the 4X thing as well.
Even Stellaris has tried to do that. Now, granted, I haven't played the game since December of 2024. I'm off that. I'm off it. But didn't they try to do like hero leaders or something like that?
Yes, they did.
To
Yeah.
try to
I can't remember what they called them, but yes, paragons. That's what they called it. I think. Yeah, where you could recruit these these particular leaders to your cause. They had certain buffs and they had certain negatives and things like that. So yeah, Stellaris did that. But before we continue, you know how I said I had 5 minutes to prepare for this because Tim let us down. Tim, God
miss you,
damn
Tim.
you. God damn you, Tim. Star Trek Birth of the Federation, 1999, published by Microprose, was a Star Trek 4X.
Yes, I remember that now.
Oh, but you didn't 5 minutes ago, did you?
Funnily enough, there's a fan-made overhaul mod for that called Star Trek Supremacy, I believe, and that's built on the same foundation as Birth of a Federation 2. Star Trek Supremacy, as the modders or the developers like to call it, is a 1-1 kind of ratio, and it's completely open source as well. It's a 4X strategy game, and it's based on the Birth of a Federation. But yeah, I can't believe it passed us earlier.
Whoa! It passed you.
It passed me. Yeah.
This is your episode. You want to talk about Space 4X. Don't be laying that failure at my door. I'm not accepting that. Okay.
I would never miss something like that in a Dwarf Fortress episode.
I would never miss something like that. As a favor to you, I've stepped in to do this episode, and you haven't even prepared properly. I'm very disappointed.
I know. I'm sorry. Disappointed. I mean, to be fair, 200, 300, Space 4X titles alone in my library, it's easily.
But this is Star Trek. This is
one of
like
one.
Saying,
it's one.
Yeah. Or 7 of 9, whichever it might be. But this isn't just like a random other title. This is Star Trek.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I found an abandonware version of that game, by the way, while you guys were talking about it.
We'll put the link to that in the description of this episode as well. So send me the link, please. Sid. Okay. What does the future of? Because I don't want. We've done so many Stellaris episodes, and I think we're looking at doing one very soon, maybe next month, about what's to expect in 2026 from Stellaris. Jack wants to do that one. Hopefully, he prepares better than what you have for this. What does the future of Space 4X look like? We've mentioned Astro Protocol and Stellar Reach.
Stellar Reach, yes. Stellar Reach. There's one other one which is definitely worth a mention called Civirevival, which promises to be. It's actually quite a ambitious title. I think. Hopefully, it will get released this year. Hopefully, but it's going to be like I talked about. It will be a 4X RPG. It will be a traditional 4X Empire management game, but it will be a character-driven narrative progression. So what does that mean? So it will be character-driven, character-focused, but also it will be kind of semi-RTS fleet battle, like you get in Sins of a Solar Empire. That's what attracted me to it in the first place, is the fact that it is a 4X, but at the same time you will have those sort of RTS style, fleet combat, which is pretty cool. And the story seems pretty cool. And another one called Antimatter by a French developer, I believe. And that also has RPG elements in there. So I think that the only difference between this and Civirevival is the fact that this will be they promise, they're going to have a simulated living galaxy as well. So it's going to be sort of procedurally generated, dynamic universe, as they call it. Thousands of systems to explore.
Have you tried Stellar Reach?
I haven't actually. Stellar Reach, I think it came out at the end of last year, was it?
Yeah, released on Steam in late 2025. It's got some decent reviews. It's mostly positive. Now, I played it and I was like, this, and with full apologies to Mr. Miller, who the developer, I thought it was awful. and horses for courses, some people love those kind of games and some people don't, but it was so complicated. And maybe that's the reason why I like Stellaris and nothing else, because it's a simplified version of a 4X game. It's 4X, but it's simple to play, simple to understand. Whereas this was just learning curve through the roof. It just didn't work. But it was very realistic in terms of. I love this analogy, and I think it's something that's Terra Invicta uses, where it's a case of the solar system is always in motion. So, for example, if you were to fly from Earth to Mars, you wouldn't fly from Earth to Mars. You'd fly from Earth to where Mars will be by the time you get there. Like real world physics, I thought it was very, very well done, but I just couldn't get my head around. It was taking 20 years to go places or whatever.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, it's that's the thing. It's some people. I mean, the masochist in me says, wow, that's interesting. I'll go and try it. Because I'm fascinated by these complex sort of games for sure. But at the same time, would I play these if I just want to play something just to relax with?
Okay, now that we've gone through the history and we've talked about some more modern stuff, what would you say would be the best of the best, Sid? What, like, if you had to give a top 5, what would you give?
My top 5, I'd say Galactic Civilization.
Hold on, are you counting down or counting up? We need to be clear here. Is this the best game, or is it the 5th best game that you're starting with?
If you want me to do, see, I'm thinking about this because the top 5. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it in no.
Or is it in no particular order?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
You,
No particular
Brits.
order, but
Commit. Start at 5.
Okay, if you wanted to do it like that, fine. I mean, number 5, Stellaris.
Yes, I wanted
Stellaris.
Tell me why.
Yes, Stellaris number 5. It's it's the baby of the bunch. It's not it's not as experienced as the others.
It's like when your little brother's 6'6" and you're 5'10".
Yeah, it's
still the baby, but it's gigantic.
It still has a lot to learn, but yeah, that would be my number 5. Number 4, it would be something like Star Ruler, because the scale and the empire building, just the numbers, that just fascinates me.
We need a commitment from you, Sid. You can't say something like it's going to be.
Yeah, come on.
Star Ruler. Star Ruler 1. I think Star Ruler 1 for me. I mean, a lot of people say Star Ruler 2, but Star Ruler 1 for sure. That would be my number 4. Number 4. Number 3, I'd say Endless Space. I think Endless Space number 3 for sure. Endless Space. I don't know what it is about Endless Space. I think it's the asymmetrical factions. The economy. They use dust. I love the endless universe. Endless legends as well. The economy is dust. And I think it'd be a perfect thing to do as a movie one day. I'd always said that about Endless Space, the universe in that, and even Homeworld. The Homeworld universe would be perfect as a movie, but that's a discussion for another day.
Is it Endless Space 1 or Endless Space 2?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, definitely 1, because 2, yes, it's maybe a better game, but 1 just is, for me, is nostalgia, and it holds a special place in my heart. Number 2, Distant Worlds Universe. Distant Worlds Universe, a collection, almost like a magnum opus of Distant Worlds. A re-release in some form, but it included all the DLC as well, so it was literally a whole universe, of content on there, and that's probably one of my favorites, I think, out of the whole thing. I mean, I know the Distant Worlds 2 exists as well, but there's something about 2D. There's something about these 2D worlds, and it can run on any machine as well, and of course everyone's guessed it.
I want Joe to guess what number 1 is.
It's either Spore or
or Call of Duty, right?
Spore had a 4X part. Come on.
Mario
Uh,
Kart.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
It's
That was a weird.
probably it was a weird one. We should have a Spore. What could have been Spore episode someday?
What could have been?
Tell
yeah,
us if you want to
it's-
hear a Spore episode. I got a lot to
Yeah.
say. Okay. Masters
let
of
us
Orion
know.
2.
Let
Has
us
to
know.
be.
What did you say? Master of Orion 2.
And I'm going to say
Yeah.
Galactic Civilizations.
Well, I've already said that. That was my number 4.
That was Star Sector.
Star Ruler.
That was Star Ruler, was it? I've confused myself now. I've completely
Forget
confused
it. The
myself.
point is,
Yeah.
Joe was right.
The point is, I should have just America. No, the point is, I should have just done it in no particular order, like any good person, any good human being.
Come on. This was
Um,
great.
I just can't decide. I just can't. I'm not a very good decider. But Master of Orion 2 has to be the best for me. It was simple but deep enough, and also it was the basis for all the other games that came after it. Everything was compared to it. There's never going to be another game like that. They tried to redo, Master of Orion re-released, but Master of Orion 2 for sure. I feel like there's so much more to explore in this category.
Definitely. I think that you've kind of scratched the surface rather than giving us a deep dive, and that's not a criticism. That's just because of the format. Because we try and keep these to an hour or slightly less, and we're fresh out of time. So thanks very much. I've certainly learned some things, that there's more than just Stellaris out there, and I might go and try Galactic Civilizations. I would say it's turn-based. Could be a different approach.
Play Galciv 4 because it's just one. But obviously, if you want to be,
Play Terra Invicta.
We're going to play Terra Invicta. Okay. If we do not have 1,000 subs on our YouTube channel by the end of next week, so a week today, and when I say today, I mean episode release, then we will do a live stream playing Terra Invicta. I will play Terra Invicta. Joe's going to hold my hand and support me through it. There may be rum involved, and we will play Terra Invicta until such a time as we hit 1,000 subs. We're at 945.
If we do have 1,000, then we're gonna do it in celebration.
If we do have 1,000, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
If we have 1,000, we'll play Outgraders instead.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thanks very much as always. That's the end of the episode. Sid, thank you. Joe, thank you. Please
Been a
do
pleasure.
call again. This has been the Critical Moves podcast. Please go to criticalmovespodcast.com, which I've redesigned, and I think it looks brilliant, even though other people don't like it. criticalmovespodcast.com is our main website. You'll find all the ways to get in touch, links to our Discord, to our forum, to our social media. There's loads of information on there about strategy games. Got the show notes for all our episodes. Go and check it out. And come to the Discord and tell us that we're wrong or that we're right, and laugh at Sid because he didn't remember Birth of the Federation when he's talking about Star Trek 4X games. He's got no excuse. He's got no excuse. Thanks very much for listening. Take it easy. Goodbye.